Okay, hang tight. All right, customary units of measurement. We're going to talk about the 3 different types of measurement first. We are going to start with capacity.
Capacity.
Raise your hand if you can tell me what capacity means. What does that mean to you, husband?
How much something holds.
How much it holds, okay? Anybody else?
Storage?
City.
Okay, like storage, okay?
It's basically what she said, it's basically the measurement of how much something is filled.
How much it can fill up, okay? So how much it can fill up.
Liquid.
Mm-hmm. And what I like to think of is what you just said, is liquid. This is how we measure liquid.
But you can measure it there can be the capacity for the football stadium is 2,000 people.
Right, how many people can fit in it, okay?
Right, but...
Alright, so the way we measure capacity, one thing that's going to help us is our big G, which we already know how to write because of our brain dome. Well, let's go ahead and write it on this side of the paper because we're going to write some other things next to it. So the big G is the gallon. Inside the G, we have 4 quarts. So hold on. Q is quart. And inside the quarts, we have 2 pints.
Pints do the same thing.
A P is pint, not pint. It's pint. And inside the pint, we have 2 cups. A C is a cup. Now, one thing we're supposed to actually keep it going and write an 8 inside every C because there's 8 ounces inside every C. I usually just put a dot in there to remind myself there's 8 ounces, but we're just going to write that down. So in 1 cup, there's 8 ounces.
I couldn't fit that in there. It has to be huge for me.
So this is the big G. When you think of a gallon, raise your hand if you can tell me what you think of. When you think of a gallon of something, okay?
Like a big carton of milk.
A big gallon of milk with a handle on it, right? Okay, what about a quart? Anybody think of something about a quart?
Like whenever you're making slime, you can get like the quart container of glue.
You can get a quart of that, okay? I know a lot of times if your parents ever change the oil in the vehicle, they have to get a quart of oil. And so it's just kind of like that big. All right, so 4 of those would fit in a jug of milk. All right, what about a pint? Where do we ever see a pint? Okay, Dave?
In like baking, you can take a pint of like liquid.
Okay, so when I think of a pint, I think of maybe like when you're buying like cream cheese or butter, things that come in the tubs, the smaller tubs, those are pints. All right, what about a cup? Campbell?
I think of cup, I usually think of a drinking cup.
Okay.
But I also think of when you get water and put when we make brownies and stuff.
Yeah.
We put cups of water in.
So that's good to think about because you do have to know how much a cup is. So if someone was making brownies and they were like, oh, it wants a cup of milk, well, here's my cup. I'm just going to fill it up with milk and pour it in there. That's more than a cup, right? This is more like a quart.
That's 32 ounces.
Okay, this is more like a quart right here. So you have to know exactly how much a cup is. Ava Montgomery?
Usually you use a lot of cup measurement in baking because it'll say add 1 cup of flour.
Lots of cup in measurement. And you usually have a little cup and it says 1 cup on it, like a measuring thing.
Like a little glass. And then it'll have little tip marks for
Inside that little cup that you're measuring to pour it into the brownies or whatever is just 8 ounces. 8 ounces of whatever liquid they asked you to put in there. Okay? Bless you. Okay, another one. Another measurement of unit is length. to have inches, then feet, then yards, and then miles. Now, the big G is on our brain dump because we have to remember it. We have to remember the big G. We do not have to memorize these next numbers I'm going to give you. On the state test, they are going to give you a sheet of paper, or it will be, if it's not paper, it'll be on your computer to where you can go look at measurements, and all these measurements will be there. Okay, the big G won't necessarily be there. So you have to remember that, but the length measurements will be there. Okay, it'll just say like a conversion chart, and you'll just click it, and you'll be able to remember the numbers. But in 1 foot, there are 12 inches. And I have videos that I'm going to show you for capacity, for length, and for weight once we're finished. In 1 yard, there's 3 feet. So in that case, in 1 yard, there's 36 inches. In 1 mile, there's 1,760 yards. And in 1 mile, there's 5,280 feet.
How do you know that?
Okay? Yeah, I just do. Again, these are the numbers. These numbers will be given to you. You won't have to remember them, but you'll have to know how to take this information and apply it to a problem to figure out if I said, well, 1,760 yards in a mile, how many yards are in 2 miles? You would need to know what to multiply by 2, right, to figure that out. So these numbers will be on a chart for you, okay, but the big G won't. Yes, Campbell?
So, you're saying that, like, if it gives a question, it'll say something like this, like, 1 mile equals 1,760 yards, and it won't just say, how many feet are in 3 miles?
Yes, it will say that.
Without a chart?
No. Okay, so, yes, it will say how many feet are...
I know it'll say that.
It's going to say how many feet are in 3 miles. You, on your state test or a test that I give you, will have a conversion chart, whether it's on paper or whether it's on like a button on your iPad. And you would just click that button and this will pop up. So you're going to have to know how to use this. Okay? All right, Ava Montgomery?
Are you going to take a practice?
Yeah, let's not worry about the state test right now. I'm just telling you it's going to be there. Okay, let's just keep focusing on this. Okay?
Which is our state test?
All right, so let's think about inches, feet. Griff, again, we're not worried about the state test right now. Okay, let's worry about this. Think about an inch. An inch would be like the top of your thumb right here. Okay, this is like an inch. Okay, a foot. A foot is like as big as your foot. Now we're going to talk about, and we're going to watch a video that tells you exactly why a foot became known as a foot, which is 12 inches. It's a pretty cool little video.
Oh, I know.
Okay?
They measured the king's foot.
Yeah.
The yard. Where do we see yards a lot? Football field. All those white lines are a yard. Okay? If you think about it, every single white line is just 3 feet apart. Okay? So when I think about football, they're like, ooh, they got 1 more yard. Okay, so that's just 3 feet. I mean, it's just here to there. Big deal, right? But I guess when you're getting tackled, it is a big deal. I don't know.
No, but whenever it's in the Super Bowl, it's a big deal.
I guess so. So then, if you had to figure out how many of those little white lines are in a mile, how many of those little white lines on the field, in 1 mile there would be 1,760. If we went walking, and we were walking like this, 1 foot after another, there would be 5,280 feet for us to go walking a mile. A mile is like if we left here and started walking towards Kroger. That far. That would be like a mile going way down, okay? So it's way far versus a yard, which is just those little white lines, okay? All right, the next thing is weight.
Weight. 76.9.
Weight. We have LB, which is pound, and we have a big T, which is ton.
There's 2,000
Yes, sorry.
Like, this is 32 ounces.
Let me put these in order from least to greatest. My bad. Ounces, pound, ton. Sorry, I should have done that least to greatest. All right, so
I'm supposed to put 1 to 10 in this box.
1 pound is 16 ounces. And 1 ton is 2,000 pounds. Okay, these are all the measurements that we are going to be using. If you think about a pound, just one little pound. We weigh more than one little pound. But babies are weighed in pounds and ounces. Okay? You might hear, oh, the baby weighed 8 pounds, 3 ounces. Okay? It weighed very close to 8 pounds. It only weighed 3 ounces more, right? If I said a baby weighs 8 pounds, 15 ounces, how close does that baby weigh in 9 pounds? Just an ounce, right? Because 16 ounces is a pound. So if 16 ounces is a pound, it almost weighed 9, right? Almost weighed 9. All right, what would weigh a ton?
1 million. Elephant.
Or a couple tons. Yeah, what else would weigh a ton?
Maybe like, well, it'd be like 10 tons, but like an airplane.
Yeah, okay. What would weigh a ton?
Either my dad or a shark.
Shark, maybe.
Like a bull or like a bull that's like in Spain.
Yeah, like a really big bull.
And also like a boat, sort of like
Okay, a boat.
A small portion of a cloud, because they weigh like 1,000 tons.
Okay, I don't know about that. Okay.
Titanic.
Titanic would weigh probably lots of tons. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's go and see how we are going to convert, knowing everything we know. Again, you do not have to memorize these. So we are going to take this sheet of paper and keep it with us the rest of this day. So put it to the side. Please stop. Put it to the side, and you are going to use that the rest of this day because we're going to need it, okay? So, we're going to look at examples now. Yeah, we're still taking notes. Yeah. Sure. You can use the back if you want to. Mm-hmm.
There are 63,360 inches in a mile.
Good. Good job. Multiply it by 12.
Yes, ma'am.
Steps to solve customary conversion. Come on. Come on. We're still going. There are steps we are going to take, and we are going to stay with these steps the entire time. If you stay with my steps, you're not going to mess up, right? I've never failed you on that. If I give you steps, and I say use these steps to solve a problem, will you get it right?
Yes.
Yes, okay? I've always given you the right steps to take. Now, if you choose to not use my steps and just figure it out in your head, could you possibly get it wrong?
No.
Yes. Okay? My steps are going to be very beneficial, especially when it comes to converting customary units. All right, so our steps are going to be first. Oh, I forgot to draw our cloud. Sorry. We have a cloud to draw.
Oh.
We have 2 clouds, and we have a rainbow going this way, and we have another rainbow type thing going this way. To me, this looks like what in science?
Like
A water cycle?
A hurricane.
So this is large unit, and this is small unit. Now this is going on our brain dump. This part is going on our brain dump. Up here, you're going to have multiplying, and down here, you're going to have division. I totally forgot to draw this on our last paper, but it's okay. Let's look at this real quick and compare it to our King Henry. I'm gonna write our King Henry just because I want you to see how it is is somewhat the same. What did I do with my black marker?
I accidentally drew 2 lines on the top
Oh, I see it on the floor.
instead of drawing 1 line on the bottom.
When I start here at a smaller unit and I go that way, what do?
You're divided.
I divide. If I start at a larger unit and go that way, what do?
Multiply.
I multiply. Okay? Let's look at this right here. Let's say I start at a large unit, like a gallon. I'm starting at a gallon. You don't have to write that down.
Go out.
And I'm changing the gallon to cups. I'm changing them to cups. Did I start with a large and go to a small, or did I start with the small and go to a large?
Start with the large one.
I started with large and went to small, which means I multiply. Same thing here. When I start with a large and go down to a small, I multiply. So the good news is this stays the same. We don't have to learn anything different. This right here is still there, okay? But I'm just drawing it into a cloud so we can see. Yes.
That's confusing. Wouldn't it be dividing though?
No.
If it went from large to small?
Nope. I'm going to show you. Okay? Alright, so this is our customary unit.
Have an insect, I think.
Alright, so back up to the top. Steps to solve. The first step is, are we going from a large to a small where we multiply, or are we going from small to large where we divide? We don't know yet because I haven't given us a problem. This is just step one. Step two is write what we know. I am just giving you the steps. I'm going to work them with you so you see what those steps look like on a few problems. And then 3, solve. These 3 steps are going to happen every time. So, examples. So, Amy Montgomery, to answer your question, let's go back to the gallons and cups and why we multiply. You have a large unit. You have a gallon of milk. Okay? Amy Montgomery said it doesn't make sense. If we're going from large to small, we should be dividing. But let's think about that. I'm going to take your question. You have a gallon of milk. And you want to know how many cups are in it.
Oh, well, yeah.
You would multiply because you're getting a lot of cups in it. If you divide, you're getting a smaller number, right? But if you start with a large gallon and you want to figure out how many cups go in.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
I thought you were saying like a gallon times a gallon. Well, then
Oh,
you would go
okay.
large.
Okay. Glad we got that covered. Okay, so we're going to use my steps, and I'm going to give you some examples so we can go through these. So we're going to have 5 feet equals how many inches? Step 1 is write down what we are doing. Are we going from small to large or large to small? We have feet. They gave us feet, so that's what we start with. We are taking it from a foot to inches. So are we going from a bigger to a smaller, or are we starting with small and getting bigger?
Bigger and smaller.
We're starting with our big one, right? Feet is bigger than inches, so we're going from large to small. And if you go up here, large to small means we multiply. Number 2. Number 2 is write what we know. What do we know about feet and inches? In our handy dandy little piece of paper over here that we put to the side. What do we know about feet and inches?
1 foot equals 12 inches.
1 foot equals 12 inches. Number 3 is to solve, but we got to know what to solve. So let me show you my little trick. If you did this and figured out multiply, and you did this, then there's what you're supposed to do. You're multiplying by 12. So it'd be 5 times 12.
I'm
Equals
so lost.
That's okay, because it's just our first one. It's okay to be lost.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, so right here is our problem. 5 times 12 is 60.
You kind of have to use your multiplication and division factor.
You definitely have to use your multiplication and division factor. So let's look at this, Laura.
That makes so much more sense.
Let's look at this. Let's think about it without these steps. Okay, I have 5 feet.
Yeah.
Inside every foot is how much? 12.
12.
I have 12 inches here, 12 inches here, 12 inches here, 12 inches here, 12 inches here. How many inches do I have in all?
60.
I have 60. I'm giving you steps because it's not always going to be just these little math facts. Okay, it's not always going to be 5 times 12. It might be 120 times 12. Okay? So what I'm doing is giving you the steps to make sure that you get it right. You are starting with feet. You're starting with something this big. And you're taking it down to how many inches are in it. So you're starting with a large unit, and you're taking it to small units. So if you're taking it from a large unit to a small unit, you multiply. The second step is to write down what we know on our conversion chart, which is either our big G or they're going to give it to us, right? So on our conversion chart, we had to go figure out what we know about feet and inches. Well, what we know is 1 foot is 12 inches. So that means I'm multiplying by 12. Okay? All right, let's do another one. Don't yell the answer. All right. Let's do 6 yards equals how many feet? First, we're going to decide what we're doing. We're going from a yard. Think about a yard. All those little white lines. Taking it to feet. Are we starting with a larger unit or a smaller unit?
Large.
We're starting with a large unit and taking it to small. Alice. If I'm going from large to small, I multiply. Number 2, I'm going to get my handy dandy conversion chart, and I'm going to decide what do I know about yards and feet. I know that the
1 yard equals 3 feet.
1 yard is 3 feet. And now I know that I'm multiplying by 3.
It's 30.
So 6 times 3 is 18 feet.
Bless you.
Now, somebody last period said, well, what if I, for some reason, divide? Okay, what if for some reason you divide? You would get 2, right? Does it make sense? If you have 6 yards, think about those white lines on the football field. You have 6 of those, okay? And then a foot. So there's 6 of those white lines. If I just walk 2 feet, would that work? Could I make it all the way down to that 6th white line if I just went 1, 2 feet? No, I would need to do 18. So if you do it backwards, you can automatically realize, like, okay, that doesn't make sense. That's not going to work, right? All right. We got some more examples to do. We are going to do 48 inches equals how many feet? What I want you to do is I want you to write down step 1 and 2 and then stop. Because I want to see if we get it right. Just step 1 and 2. I don't need you to finalize the answer. Just step 1 and 2.
If you know the answer, can you write it, or do you not want to?
I'd rather you not. Let's make sure we got it going.
Yes, ma'am.
Step 1 and 2 and stop. All right, Olivia, are we going from a small unit to a large, or are we going from a large unit to a small?
Small unit to large.
Small to large, which means we divide. Okay, and tell me, Laura, what do I know about inches and feet?
1 foot equals 12 inches.
I know that I'm dividing by 12. And Griff, what is my answer? 48 divided by 12 is 4 feet. All right. In a minute, we're going to be working on a worksheet, and I'm going to show you what it's going to look like. It might look like this.
That's just doing it in a different form.
In this situation, we are not going from a large to a small because we don't even have the large. Okay? They flip it around just to make sure you're solving them correctly. We have inches. We have inches, and we're going to a yard. So we're starting with very small unit, and we're taking it to those white lines on the football field, those yards. We're going to figure out how many are in there. So don't always, if the blank is here, don't automatically go, oh, large to small. It's what they give us. We have to figure out we're taking this to here. If you don't like it to look like that, it's 100% okay to flip it. Okay, you can flip those around and say, I do not like that. I'm going to say equals how many yards. Okay, that is fine with me, yes.
Are we going to get Wranglers?
No, you shouldn't. So I'm going to do it like this, though. I want to know how many inches are in yards. So I have small to large is divide. What do I know about inches and yards?
36 inches in
1 yard equals
36.
36 inches. So I'm dividing by 36. So I have 72 divided by 36. Now, do I really want to divide by 36, or can I just say, hey, what I'm going to do is 36 times 2, 36 times 3, 36 times 4 until I figure it out. Campbell, what'd you get? 2. So if I go over here and say, well, 36 times 2, that's 72, then I know my answer is 2. So 2 yards is 72 inches. All right, I'm going to do a few capacities. So we have 40 ounces is how many cups? I want you to do step 1 and step 2 and stop.
It's going from small to large.
Which is?
Wait, what? Oh, yeah, it's divide.
Okay, and step 2, Aaliyah, what did you write for step 2? You go to your handy-dandy conversion chart, and you look for cups and ounces. What do we know?
1 cup is 8 ounces.
We know 1 cup is 8 ounces. So we are dividing
By 8.
by 8. So step 3 is solve, which is 5. Okay, if you got to get used to using this, okay, knowing you're just looking for what you know about those 2 units. You just go over here and find those 2 units and write down what you know. All right? Next one is how many quarts are there in 20 pints? How many quarts are 20 pints? Remember, if you don't like looking at it that way, flip it. But you are figuring out how many pints there are in quarts. If you have 20 pints, how many quarts would you have? So you have a step 1, 2, and 3. Eric, what is step 1? I'm starting with a P, starting with the pints on the big G, and I'm going to Q. Which one is smaller? in 1 quart, how many pints are there?
2.
2 pints. Looking at my big G, I can see that. So then I am dividing by 2. So 20 divided by 2 is
10.
so 10 quarts. So if you go look at your big G, would that make sense? If 1 quart has 2 P's, 2 quarts has 4, 3 quarts has 6, now we have 8. We did it again, we would have 10. Would that end up being 10 quarts would be 20? Yes, right? Okay, any questions? All right, I have videos that we're going to watch on each one of those units. I have a